When I was in high school, the days before cell phones were common, my friends came over one day to pick me up from my house one night. We had made plans at school for them to pick me up at 7 p.m. At 6, my parents said I had to come with them to do something, and I totally forgot to call my friends and tell them. They came to my house at 7 p.m. and called the house phone. No one answered, of course, because we were gone. There were 4 of them in the car. They all told us the exact same story. They said that they were about to pull out of my driveway, but they saw someone peek through the blinds from the bedroom on the top floor right window. That was my room, so they assumed that I was messing around. 5 more times, they said that someone would peek through the blinds, and a couple of them said they even saw the person's eyes. We got home at probably 7:10, 7:15, and they were still in our driveway. One of my friends came over and said they thought I was messing with them. Then they asked me, "So who's staying in your room?" I told them that no one was home, so they asked, "Who is home at your house right now?" Again, I told them, "No one." Their stone-cold faces then told me what they had seen repeatedly over the last 15 minutes. At first, we all thought there was a burglar in the house or something, so we called the cops. They came over and inspected the house. There was 0 signs of break-in, nothing was touched, and nothing was stolen. Our house had an alarm on it, so there is no way someone could have come into the house without setting off the alarm. My family, my friends, and the cop all kind of stood around for a few minutes, trying to make sense of the situation. My friends swore up and down, and still do, that they couldn't have imagined what they saw. All 4 of them saw the same things, and it wasn't particularly a dark night, so their eyes wouldn't be playing tricks on them. To this day, none of us can make sense of the situation. The cop also played a pretty big role, because he too was dumbfounded. At first he thought my friends were messing around, but there was no joy in their face throughout the entire thing. They were confused and at times terrified. We never found out who or what it was, but I'm certain something was in my room that day. It's been over 20 years since this incident, and I can't explain it using conventional sense or rational thought. It changed our lives forever. But let me start at the beginning. I grew up in rural Wisconsin, the kind of place where getting a gallon of milk from the store was a 45-minute affair. My friends and I were 16 and 17 at the time, and so we decided to pass the time by doing what most kids our age did, long drives in the country. One Friday night, 5 of us decided to cruise around in my buddy's car. He drove, I sat shotgun, and 3 of our other friends sat in the back seat. I remember the night being really brightly lit by the moon, and because it was spring and the crops hadn't started growing yet, you could see for miles in every direction, especially given how dead flat our area was. Anyway, it's like 11 p.m. and we are heading eastbound towards an intersection on one of the county roads, when we see headlights from a car heading north towards the same intersection. As we get closer to the intersection, probably a mile or so out, it looks like we are a bit closer to it than this other car. We get to about a half mile out from the intersection and see that we're definitely closer, so we can just keep going. Suddenly, this car guns it, like it's trying to beat us to the intersection even though they had a stop sign, and we didn't. As we get into the intersection, this car is right there, and its headlights are filling our car with light. You can hear the engine going, and it's clear as day that it's about to T-bone our car's passenger side, where I'm sitting. All 5 of us scream and brace for impact, and right when the car is going to hit us, it just vanishes. We slam on the brakes, all get out of the car, and we're doing the pat ourselves down for damage thing, but this car is just not there. Again, it's bright as hell, for night, and we're surrounded by flat, empty fields. There's absolutely nowhere for this car to have gone without us seeing it. It's just gone. We have a bit of a freak out and decide to head home for the night, but all 5 of us saw it. We even asked each other Monday at school, like, did that happen? And we all knew it had. What's craziest about this, though, is the following Friday night, my friends decide to go for another drive. I had to work that night, so I couldn't make it, but the rest of them are just cruising the same stretch of country. Except this time, right around 11 p.m., they get broadsided by a drunk driver at the exact same intersection. It's a catastrophic crash. Miraculously, everyone survived. but two of my friends needed extensive surgery. One of my friends, the one sitting shotgun, had to relearn how to walk and tie his shoes and suffered a pretty severe brain injury. Another friend had swelling in his brain that needed surgery, but was mostly okay after that, relatively speaking, I guess. What the hell was it? A time loop? A glitch in the matrix? Converging realities? Am I dead? I have tried and tried, but I do not have a rational answer for what happened. Police officer here. One evening about 8 years ago, it was pouring outside and we got a call from an elderly woman. This sort of thing happens a lot, honestly. She called in and said that she was hearing footsteps in her house, and she thought there was something going on inside because she claimed to regularly hear the sound of someone walking upstairs, but she lived alone. We went just to check it out and make sure that everything was okay. She stayed on the line with the 911 operator because she was frightened. About 3 minutes after she initially called in, she said that there was actually a man standing outside in her backyard, staring at her through her sliding glass door. Petrified, the woman froze in that spot and continued to stare directly at the man. For the next minute or two, she said that he was just standing there, still as could be, staring at her. Eventually, the man slunk off out of sight. When we arrived, about 12 minutes after the call first came in, we went to the front door. I remained in the foyer with the woman, and the other officer went to the backyard to see if the man was still hiding out, or if there were any traces of him. I spoke with her for several minutes until the other officer returned. He said there was no trace of anyone having been in the backyard. We set off to do a quick sweep before we left to make sure the house was all clear. In her living room, the room that has the sliding glass door, we discovered a trail of mud and footprints inside the house. I asked the woman if she had been outside at all that day, or if anyone had been over to visit her. She said no, that she lived alone, and that no one had come by to visit. The woman was very old, probably around 85, and had very poor eyesight and was hard of hearing, as elderly people tend to be. The woman obviously had seen the man's reflection and mistakenly thought he was in front of her, on the other side of the glass, in her backyard. In reality, he had been standing only a few feet behind her in the same room while she had been talking to 911. Nothing was stolen, broken, or out of place, so we don't know what his intentions were. Who knows what would have happened had she not stayed on the line with the operator. I know it sounds like something out of a campfire story, but it was honestly one of the most unnerving and creepy experiences I have had while on duty.